Let your memory take you backward, back to days when you were young, to the time you saw that apple tree with luscious apples on. Now, those apples were a little green, and you well understood green apples were forbidden fruit. But gosh, they tasted good. Well, a dozen apples later, to your rather great surprise, green spots and purple polka dots went dancing past your eyes. Then everything went hazy, and the next thing that you knew, the face of old Doc Jenkins was a-looking down at you.
I think you'll live, the doctor said. We needn't operate. Simply just another case of something that you ate. Yes, we're all familiar with the results of something you ate. But do we ever consider the other side of the picture? Something you didn't eat.
Let's go back in history for a moment. The year is 1747. Aboard the English frigate, the Salisbury, an all too familiar ceremony is being held. Burial at sea. Scurvy, that mysterious malady, has struck again. Dr. Lind, the ship's surgeon, is puzzled. He feels sure there is some connection between scurvy and the food the men eat. But what can it be? Meat? Broth? Biscuits? Men should thrive on this. He tries an experiment. Each day, 2 of these men have 2 oranges and a lemon added to their diet. Just 2 oranges and 1 lemon. But before 6 days have passed, in the words of Dr. Lind, the most sudden and visible good effects were perceived.
In 1890, while investigating the tropical disease beriberi, Dr. Eichmann, a physician in Java, made another astounding discovery. Natives who lived on a diet of polished rice sickened and died. But those whose diet was changed to include unpolished, whole grain rice stayed in almost miraculous recovery. This time the conclusion was obvious. Something within the thin husk of a grain of rice was essential to health. Strip the rice of its husk, rob men of this magical something, and again they perished.
20th century science has taken the discoveries of pioneers like Lind and Eichmann, plus a great many discoveries made since then, and arrived at definite facts relating food to health. Facts about vitamins, about minerals, about proteins and carbohydrates. But let's look at it this way. There are various types of foods, each one containing substances essential to health. To build up a well-rounded diet, these foods interlock like the links of a chain. And the old saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, still applies. Omit a single one of these necessary substances, weaken just one of these links, and the chain snaps.
We know now that Lind had discovered a weak link in that chain, and that the something in oranges and lemons which repaired this link was vitamin C. Vitamin C is found not only in citrus fruits, but also in tomatoes and in raw cabbage and salad greens.
Yes, and we know today that Dr. Eichmann had discovered another weak link in that chain. And that the something in unpolished whole grain rice which restored the link is vitamin B1, found in all grains and in their products, bread, flour, cereals, if natural whole grain, or enriched or restored. Yes, here's the irony of it. Here we are in the greatest food-producing nation in the world. And yet, out of every 10 people in this country, 7 have weak links in their diet because of something they didn't eat. People like the Jones family here. Think for a moment, Mrs. Jones. That schoolgirl complexion, is it coming from the dinner table or the dressing table? And as for you, Mr. Jones, your posture, not quite all it should be, is it? How about that old Pep? Been in conference a lot lately? Now, such symptoms can arise from other causes, but very often they're signals, danger signals which warn you of wrong eating habits.
To understand this, let's look at Mr. Jones in the cold light of scientific analysis. Let's see what makes him tick. We find he's made up of about 50 quarts of water, enough to fill a small aquarium, enough calcium to whitewash a chicken coop, enough fat to make 7 bars of soap, sufficient sulfur and phosphorus to make a box of matches, enough iron to make a small shingle nail, smaller quantities of nitrogen, copper, zinc, and other materials. Now, Mrs. Jones can't very well serve a meal of soap, whitewash, matches, and shingle nails.
No, she must learn to choose the foods that contain the essential substances in these things. And here's a simple way that will help her to provide every essential, from vitamin A to mineral zinc. The Basic 7. Designed by leading nutritional authorities, the Basic 7 divides the most important foods into 7 basic groups. How does it work? Well, here's a breakfast Mrs. Jones might select from the chart. From Group 2, orange juice. From Group 6, cereal. From Group 4, milk. From Group 5, soft-boiled eggs. From Group 7, butter or fortified margarine. That should start the day off right.
Now let's see what the chart provides for Pop's lunchbox. From Group 1, green and yellow vegetables. From Group 4, milk. From Group 5, meat. And from Group 6, bread for sandwiches. From Group 3, apples for apple pie. That should hold him till evening. And as for dinner, well, pot roast with brown potatoes, coleslaw salad, hot biscuits, topped off with some fruit. That ought to hit the spot.
You see, the Basic 7 doesn't take the fun out of eating, but it does help you make sure your family gets sufficient food from each group every day. And here's food for thought, Mrs. Jones. When you plan your meals, you're more than a housewife doing a daily chore. You are a skilled architect, building a family with vigorous bodies and alert minds. Yes, by using the Basic 7, you and every other Mrs. Jones can help to keep this nation strong and free from the threat of something you didn't eat.